You're listening to Bro Cave Sports Podcast.
Look out! Here comes LBJ!
There he goes! I don't think you get up from this! You want Philly food? To Nick Foles!
It's a touchdown by Nick Foles! Yes! For the win! That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
It's in my house.
David Beckham scores the goal. Oh, what a shot from Curry!
The Eagles are Super Bowl champions!
Breaking news, sports talk, sick interviews. And now, let's step into the cave.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bro Cave Sports. I am Sam Levin. In the cave today, I'm joined by Bro Hamid Ali, Daniel Leonard,
What is up, everybody?
and Bro Sokol Luke Dorfman.
What's up, Bro Cave Nation?
Also joining us in the cave today is former professional basketball player and Washington Wizards assistant coach, Alex McLean.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing good,
Good.
doing good, bro.
All right, so let's jump right into it. So I did some research, and I saw you grew up playing basketball, and you played a variety of instruments as well. Was music always a big part of your life, and who influenced you to play music?
Music kind of came natural for me. I come from a family of athletes, but I wasn't the athlete in my family. I kind of got gypped in that category. But music came natural for me, so it was just kind of a gift I got. And I learned, I taught myself how to play young. And then eventually, as I got older, I started taking lessons and I got, really involved. And I had a really, really good gift for it, but I didn't have the love and the passion for it like I do for basketball. But I think early, family, but just listening to music, just, that was probably the biggest influence, just having it around me.
And what instrument did you play instrument?
Man, I played like everything, man. I taught myself how to play everything: piano, drums, bass, guitar, cello, like all the strings, just once you learn one, you start to pick up more and more and more. Before you knew it, man, I had like a room full of, I could barely get around in my room. I had so much stuff in there.
Who was your favorite artist growing up?
Man, I had so many, man. I listen to like every type of genre, you know what I mean? I'm from New York, so of course I listen to all that New York hip hop stuff, all that good stuff, but, also a lot of rock, a lot of classical. It was just all over, man. I got a broad music span.
It's awesome.
And
Yeah.
during this time, how did you kind of split your time between basketball and music? And is there one that you focused on more than the other?
Well, probably growing up, I played basketball young, but like, youth stuff, not like any good, not super competitive. And then I actually never played until my freshman year of college. So I took my whole high school career. I didn't play any sport. I didn't play basketball at all. I was just doing music. And then one day, man, I just was like, man, this isn't my passion. I had full rides to almost every music school in the country. I was a number one bass player in New York. I had, I could go anywhere I wanted to go. And I decided to go to a Division III junior college and pay my own way to play basketball. I just had the love for that. It's kind of weird sacrifice, but it paid off in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
did your love of basketball come naturally, like instruments, or did you have people around you that also promoted your love for the sport?
I love basketball. I just wasn't very good. You know what I mean? Music, I had a passion for and I loved it, but I was really good naturally. Basketball, I wasn't any good, so I had to work at it from day one. My brother was like all-American track runner, football player. My dad played time in the NFL. I came from like a family of athletes. I just wasn't one, man. I just had to work for everything. You know what I mean?
Got it. And
Yeah.
what was like really the deciding factor? Like, did you just wake up one day and you were like, basketball is my passion and music is not where I want to go?
Yeah, for sure. I always loved basketball, man. Everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to be in the NBA. It was a dream. But, you guys are young. It's a lot of politics and high school sports and all that stuff. And, you could get deterred from trying to go that route. And then, man, I turned 18. I said, man, F it. Like, I'm going for it. You know what I mean? I didn't look back, and I put everything I had into it.
Do you have any regrets, like wishing that you chose basketball over music earlier?
Nah, because I don't think I would have panned out and had as long of a career as I had, even though I was always a little bit behind the eight ball early. Like, it gave me my work ethic because I always felt like I was behind all the time. You know what I mean? So I always felt like I was playing catch up. So I worked, 3/4. That's how I developed my work ethic. And I think moving forward, I played 9 years, a few years in the league, a lot of years overseas. But it developed my passion to now get other guys better. And now I have, an array of max level NBA players that train with me every day. So I had to go through that for myself and kind of be behind the 8 ball to know how to push guys to their highest level later on in life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it worked out. And you went to junior college and then you went to Liberty. How did that kind of work out going to Liberty?
Yeah. I went to junior college. I still didn't have a lot of offers. And I ended up actually, after junior college, taking a year off just to work out. And that's when I really fell in love with like the training aspect of basketball and just training, period. So I took that year off, and about halfway through the year, I started to get some offers, but more teams were flying in just to work me out, just to see. And once I started going with that protocol, I realized, man, working out in front of somebody is your application in, man. Like, this is the foot in the door. So I started preparing my mind to just be prepared to be a workout guy. And eventually I had some bigger offers, but I decided to go where I could kind of be a big fish in a small pond and try to, maximize the last 2 years I had. And it worked out well. I had a good career at Liberty.
Seems it. I read that you dropped 40-20.
Yeah, I had a 40-20
averaging like
game.
15 points a game, something like that.
Yeah.
Not too shabby at all.
Not bad.
Not bad.
All right. So when you were at Liberty and at JUCO playing basketball, did music kind of just like float away from you, or did you keep it close to heart in a way, whether it just be like the specific music you warm up to or play basketball to? Like, how did you keep music?
For sure, like for sure, like, it was part of my warm-up routine. But as far as me playing, like, at a very, very minimal, man. I pick up like a guitar and mess around with my friends, like joking, but I basically put it all away, man. I went all in with basketball. Like, as far as now, like music, getting hyped, my stuff before, my playlist and staying motivated, yeah, it influenced me that way. But as far as me playing, no, I basically dropped it, and that was it, man. I still got it, but I went all in with basketball, man.
Did you ever have that moment when, after all the hard work, when you were feeling like you were behind, when you finally made it and you're like, wow, all the hard work really paid off?
Yeah, I think it was probably when I signed my first pro contract, probably when I had my first NBA pre-draft workout right when I was done, because it was like, I look back and I said, man, I'm signing for, X amount of dollars, which is more money I ever had in my life. Mm-hmm. And 4 years ago, man, I just picked up this basketball and started doing this for real. So it was kind of like a transcending moment as far as confidence-wise. And then it was just, moving on, trying to exceed expectations and raise the bar for yourself every year. But it was probably right when my last college game, I signed with an agent, and then it was off and run. I started looking around. I said, man, this life moves fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you went to play overseas.
Yeah.
What was probably the coolest place you played in?
Probably the coolest place was probably like, I spent some time in Europe early, but it was probably Asia. Like China is a crazy good league. I played there with a ton of NBA guys. The center on my team was Hassan Whiteside, who's with the Trailblazers now. So it was crazy NBA talent. But probably the Philippines, to be honest, because, you had 30,000 fans at every game, and they love basketball. It was crazy. And there's only one American per team. So it's like you kind of got everything riding on you, and it's super competitive. But just the fact of, like, the fans, and it's probably as close to the league. It might even be crazier because they're fanatics, man. I couldn't go anywhere in the Philippines without 2-3 security guards. That's how crazy it was.
That's crazy.
People are like nuts, man.
Now, what was it like living overseas, like housing and stuff like that?
It's tough, man. It's an adjustment at first. Once you get a few years in, you start to get used to it and you know how to navigate it. But it's like the first thing you do when you get over there, man, you make sure you got good internet and good water pressure in your shower, man. It's like the weirdest stuff. But wherever you go, you're going to lose a lot of weight trying to adjust to the culture, adjust to the food. But like, looking back, I'm glad I did it because I went to a ton of places I would have never gone. You know what I mean? I never even been out of the country until I signed my first pro deal overseas. So I wouldn't even, you know what I mean? That's when I had to get my passport at 22 years old. So it would have took me places I would have never gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And overseas, what's kind of the deal? Because you hear that you don't always get the money, but you get a lot of assets. Like, they give you – is that the same with you, or was it different?
Well, it was a little different for me. I mean, I was lucky enough that I started out early making, I made a good amount of money my first deal and kind of moved up. And then when you start playing in China and those places, you start to get multi-million-dollar contracts and million-dollar contracts, and you're not paying taxes So you have to account for, making tax-free money. So,
Mhm.
I was lucky and fortunate enough that I made a lot of money in my career. And, you could always make more. But, some guys don't. Some guys chase it. And it's tough. The thing about basketball is you have a love for it. But, like, I also play basketball for money. And the minute, I felt the money change, you got to set up the next 20, 30 years of your life because you concentrate so much on being a professional. But honestly, man, if you can get 10 years, you had a long career. And then you still got, from 32 on to figure out what you're going to do. So it's kind of knowing when to max out as much money as you can make and then to transition into the next thing.
So after your career, what made you want to get into coaching?
Man, it was tough, man. It was, I actually went back to school. So my old school, Liberty, called me back and they said, hey, man, I was actually nursing. I tore both my Achilles. So I was rehabbing a second injury. And my old coach, he called me and said, hey, you want to come back and just work with the guys? And you could come back and get your master's degree. So I went back, got my degree, started working with the guys. And I just caught the bug of just getting guys better, man. It was crazy because I had a big contract after that first year as a graduate assistant. I had a huge contract overseas that probably would have been the most money I made in my career, or pretty close. And I turned it down. And I was like on the fence about it, man. I was like, man, I can't believe I'm giving up this amount of money. Like,
Yeah.
But then like the next year, man, I had the job in the league and it was on, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was all worth it in the end. It's just, you got to know when to transition, and a lot of guys, you see a lot of guys, they stop playing and they still 40 years old. They still want to try to play and be like, it's the gift and the curse. Playing professional basketball is like an amazing opportunity. But if you hold on for it too long, man, you'll get lost for the next things you're going to do.
Now, as a coach, do you see a lot of people make that decision of either stopping too early, going too long, not taking the money,
Yeah.
getting hurt, like not being
Yeah.
financially stable? Do you see a lot of that as a coach?
Yeah, you see it now. You see it, guys, guys in the league that their career is over in the NBA and they could probably still go overseas and make $1 million, $2 million for, at the end of the day, if you can make $100,000 a month for 6 months, rather than staying home waiting on the league, like, come on, it's a no-brainer, man. Guys will make $100,000 a month tax-free. Like, that's crazy. You can make serious money, but it's guys, they want to hold on to that image and that love for the NBA that they wait around and they never get back in, and then they lose their window to go overseas and maximize their dollars. Like, I don't know if you guys are young, but I don't know if you're familiar with Stephon Marbury. He transitioned early into China. He probably made 20, 30 million more. Now he coaches there for just as much and just made a different life. Like, it's not for everybody, but when when your time's up in the league and you still want to play, you got to maximize, man. But you see guys get lost, I've seen a lot of guys get out and never get back in either way. And then, it's sad. You might see a guy working, like, hey, this guy's working here. I seen one guy that I played professional with, and I'm not going to say name, but he was working at a deli counter at a grocery store. Like, and I knew personally that he had made millions of dollars. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it goes quick, man. Those stories, those 30 for 30s, it happens, man. It happens more often than you think.
And now, do you use that knowledge you have to try to help the younger guys coming up and like even the players that you coach right now, kind of give them a sense of what they should be doing?
For sure, yeah. That's kind of like the main thing when I do. Like the first job I had when I was in the league was I would go with the guys that would transition, that were kind of on the fringe, that would go between the G League and the NBA and then bounce, and I'd go with them. So if they were up in the league, I'd be with them, and then they had to go play 4 or 5 games in the G League, I'd travel with them, and it'd be just me and them. And then I started to get the bond with the younger guys. And then, some of them don't make it in the league. They have a run, and then you still help them later on in life. Like, I'll get them a job here in Russia or China or Turkey. So I still use my connections to help them even when they're out of the league. But that groomed me to now work with, John Wall, Isaiah Thomas, and all these, max level dudes now, because you start with the young guys first. You understand the psychology behind them and how to help them. And then you grow into learn how to help guys that seem like they'll never go broke. You know what I mean? Or lose their career. But it can happen to anybody. Not even money, just your career can end like one bad move and it can end. So it's kind of, you got to groom people along the process.
When you're training people, do you see each person you train differently, or do you have a common way that you train all of them?
Nah, everybody's different, man. 100%. And I think, like, if you go into it, like, I just finished working out with Isaiah Thomas, and he had a cool documentary come out about him, and he dealt with the hip. And you guys know him, man. He's 5'9", and he was a 2-time All-Star, and he was at a peak, and now he dealt with a crazy hip injury. We just finished working out in LA, and it's like he's totally different than me working out John Wall. It's just they work out different, the mentality's different, and And every guy in the league has a different way. And you can't just walk in and give somebody like a cookie cutter program to like one never works for the next. So it's kind of building a relationship first. Like, I want to get to know you first before we even work out. And the last thing I'm going to do is even say anything about money. Like, the last thing I do it for is money. Because when you try to train guys for the money, you don't develop the relationship. And the relationship is what's going to propel, you getting the best out of them in the workout. You know what I mean? Because anybody can work anybody out. It's about the relationship.
Yeah.
Well said.
And you just mentioned Isaiah Thomas, and I would like to know, are we about to see an Isaiah Thomas come back?
100%.
100%.
100%. Dude looks amazing. I don't know if you guys saw the little short documentary that come out, but I'm proud of him. That's my boy. He's going to come back out here and work with me in Miami next week. But we had some good time here last week in LA, and it's great to see him come back because I knew what he was going through, trying to come back from the hit, and even watching the documentary. I'm going to send it to you guys when you get off if you haven't seen it. It's like the stuff behind the scenes, man, that guys go through just to try to play is crazy. So I'm rooting for any guy like that to have a crazy comeback. And to what level he comes back, I don't know, but he'll definitely be back in the NBA this year for sure.
Now,
That's
is there some form of relatability between you and the people that you coach that makes it so special?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little unique because I'm still close enough in age, and I've played with some of these guys that I can relate from that aspect as far as being a player. But at the same token, you got to know when to draw the line, and it's about like a leadership and coach role too. So it's kind of like a thin line you got to navigate. But you got to understand the culture, and you got to understand the mentality of these players to have some success with them. You know what I mean? You can't just – you're talking to the 1% of the world, man. These dudes, there's 400 jobs in the NBA. There's billions of people in the world. So you're dealing with the 1%. So you can't put a limit on the 1%. So you got to understand their mind first. You know what I mean? Because these dudes are special, man.
100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And now because you're the coach of the Wizards, well, assistant coach of the Wizards, and even though the record wasn't great this year, there's actually many positives actually out of this season, like emerging stars like Rui Hachimura and Thomas Bryant. And then also to build off of what they had already with John Wall coming back and then Bradley Beal playing out of his mind this year. Are we going to see the Wizards have a comeback this year to back where they were, the playoff team? Because it looks like they have some good pieces rolling for them.
Yeah, that's the plan, man. That's always the plan. It's certain things going on in free agency, and it's about picking up the right pieces next month and kind of adding to what we already got. But we were like extremely young this year, and it was sort of a rebuild with the injuries and that type of thing. So it's hopefully you laid a good enough foundation to compete because the East is going to be crazy. Like last week when we were playing in LA, man, we played against the Nets guys every day, and KD and Kyrie look crazy good, and KD and John are both coming off the same Achilles injury, man. They both look incredible. So the East is going to be super competitive. So we got to be prepared to really get after it. But I think we have enough pieces, and I think we still have some additions that we need to get. But, the goal is to always compete, man, take it as far as you can go.
And not exactly for the Wizards, but who do you think is the, underdog or the top player to steal from free agency this year?
Man, I don't know, man. That's tough. There's so many pieces. You don't really know what's going to happen, man, to be honest. I don't even know if I want to give my opinion on that. But you guys know. You guys hear the rumors, man. There's a lot there, There's always something floating around. There's always a surprise.
This year, it's not necessarily like a stacked star free agency. Next year is crazy. But this year, it's more of a lot of top-tier role players.
Yeah. This year is about finding guys, that fill that last void, kind of like what the Lakers did this year. They put the right pieces in at the right time to complement your stars. So there's a lot of those guys around. There are some good players available too. Don't get me wrong, but as far as seeing that blockbuster all-star next year would be crazy.
Next year.
Next
and
year
then
be the year.
I saw you also trained with Dwight Howard, and how cool is it to see him win a chip this year?
Oh man, incredible. Dwight is like, there's always a lot of things said about him, but like our relationship and the time I spent with him he's a great dude, man. Like he's misunderstood in a lot of ways, but that dude is like incredible, and he's got that it factor, man. I watched him work his way back because when he was with us last year, he was dealing with a herniated disc, and people were trying to say he was done, but he had to wait to get the surgery, and they took the disc out. It was like this big, and it was nasty. So like once I saw him starting to rehab and get back right last summer, I was hoping we would keep him, but he went to the perfect spot, and you guys saw him in the Denver series, man. He's still jumping out the gym at 34.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. He still got a lot of that.
Now, the next question, it's a simple question, but it's difficult. Who's the GOAT?
Right now or of all time?
All time.
Michael Jordan. It's not even
Okay,
close.
I agree.
Not even close. Not even close, man.
All right. So after this,
it's Mike and everybody else
Exactly.
right now. Always.
after this, I got a couple questions. So, like, one, you seem like a really like knowledgeable, smart guy, like wise in a way. Who or what really helped shape you to who you are today as a coach and a person and as a man?
Oh, man, I got a lot of people, man. I try to keep like a thing I call a cabinet of people around that hold me accountable so I can hold other people accountable. Definitely starts, my college coaches, Brad Susi, Richie McKay. Man, I have a big-time lawyer friend. His name is Mark Hippler. He's one of the biggest lawyers, trial attorneys, personal injury attorneys in the world. Incredible dude. He kind of helps me. So I got like a pick of certain guy. Our GM, Tommy Shepard, honestly, man, I've had an incredible relationship with him. I lean on him with a lot of my knowledge in the NBA. But I kind of got like a small group of 4 or 5 people I keep the whole make, and they're all, over 50 years old, man, because it's hard. You know what I mean? But then you also learn by messing up, man. I made a lot of mistakes in life, and those probably teach me the biggest lessons. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Absolutely. And like I said about Isaiah Thomas, you just said John Wall's looking great.
Incredible.
For one, do we think he's going to be back to what he was or close? And
Better.
did you form the bond? You said you had an Achilles injury. He had an Achilles injury. Did you guys kind of bond over that Achilles injury?
Yeah, 100%. They had an interview. We did an interview. And he did Gilbert Arenas' podcast. We did it last week. But it was funny, man, because he was playing on it, and I played on mine the same way, and you kind of know it when you see it. So we were playing Detroit, and he was, like, hobbling around. Like, he'd have a game, he'd have 30, but he couldn't walk for 2-3 days after. I was like, man, he's got that bone spur on the Achilles like me. I had this bone spur. So you don't just tear it like kind of KD tore his, and then you sew it back together. It kind of comes apart and you sew it back together. Me and John, we kind of rip ours off the bone, so you got to put it back in with screws. So we had the same kind of thing. And I saw him at halftime in Detroit. I said, yo, John, man, like, oh, you gotta go get it fixed, man. I was like, you look bad. I was like, this is gonna give a misrepresentation of who you are. And the next day he got the surgery, man, because it's tough. You don't want to do it, but it's a long rehab. So we connected instantly off that, and then we've been together every day for 2 years since then. Every day. We're going to play pickup in about an hour with James Harden and Andre Drummond. We got a crazy pickup about to happen in about an hour out here. And he looks incredible, but I'm telling you, since that Achilles, I've been with him every single day.
Spread the word, Bro Cave Sports.
Yeah. Got you.
All right, and one last question.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for people that are trying to build connections in the sports world, reconnect with others, and make it as an athlete?
Man, I think as far as the first part, the connection part, it's about being genuine and always being solid. But on top of that, man, don't chase the clout and don't chase the money. Like, if you're going to do it for somebody for free before you do it for any amount of money or any type of cloud or any Instagram, because it always comes back full circle, man. If you have genuine intentions from the beginning, you get paid 10 times or you make it 10 times on the back end. So always just be solid, man, and treat the dude. You never know who you're talking to. And I was telling that to one of our young rookies, like, you never know who's in the gym. You never know who you're talking to. So don't ever look above somebody, because there's been times in my life, I look past somebody and you double back. It's like, yo, this dude owns a team. Like, he's on. You never know who's around. So always treat everybody the same with respect, and do it for free before you do it for money. And then you know what I mean? It's the same with playing. Like, if you get up and do it for free every day and you'll work just as hard. I tell guys, like, some guys train, and I train guys, and I have an expensive fee to train with me. But on top of that, I train a lot of guys for free. And when they want to do something, I said, I'm going to train you like you paying me anyway. You know what I mean? I'm going to train you like you paying my fee. Everybody gets treated the same. So that's kind of the mentality. Same when you're young and you're hungry, you try to get it, you're working out. Do it. Just go hard. The money and all that stuff comes later. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
For sure. Absolutely.
That got me excited.
I think get me excited.
Yeah.
We
say a thing around here, like, hard work talks, man, and most people can't get a word in. Just work hard.
Absolutely. That was very well said.
I'm gonna quote that.
For
So
sure.
am I.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna send you guys some hard work talk. I'm gonna send you guys some gear, man. When we're done, you send me your address. I'm gonna send you some gear.
We'll send you some bro caves,
That's right here.
Gotcha. Yeah, I need some brocade stuff to put up.
Nice.
Send a couple things, man. We're gonna wear it in the next workout.
Nice.
That's awesome.
If you don't mind,
sure.
if you can get like John Wall or James Harden to wear it during a workout, that goes.
No, we're kidding.
Yeah, we got you, man. We're gonna put something together, man. We'll get you some good pictures with it on for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
for
thank
sure,
you for
for sure.
joining us. That was
For
awesome.
sure. Nah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
And for everyone listening, make sure to follow us at Bro Cave Sports and subscribe to anywhere you listen to podcasts. Be safe, be healthy, and stay tuned for next episode.
Yes, sir.